Abuse and neglect of the elderly is no laughing matter, never a laughing matter. Hello, I'm Dick Yeager. I'm the host of Goin Like 60. And we're here today to interview a couple of people who work in that area, not necessarily as perpetrators, but as help towards those people who have suffered this abuse. Today we are interviewing Lynn Kanable, an investigator with the Adult Protective Services here in Tippecanoe County and area surrounding. Like that. Lynn, good to have you.
Thank you, Dick, for having me.
When we talk about abuse and neglect of the elderly, is this a widespread situation?
It is unfortunately a widespread situation. We have what we call the boomer tsunami coming on, where there's 78 million baby boomers turning 65 in the next few years. And
What did you call that?
We call it a boomer tsunami in our industry.
Okay, good terminology.
And unfortunately, our business is picking up. We investigate abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation of endangered adults as laid out by the Indiana statutes.
Now you say business is picking up. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're having more calls. We have more clients that we're investigating, more cases that we're called to look into.
Okay. And when somebody calls you, or do you find out about these situations by what means?
We find out from various means. We get calls from neighbors, we get calls from doctors, hospitals. The police call us quite regularly when they stumble onto a situation they feel like someone's being abused or neglected, and they want us to investigate further. We are, Adult Protective Services was formed in 1983 by the Indiana legislature, and we're the only state in the union where the units are placed in the prosecutor's office in the respective counties. Tippecanoe County is a hub unit. We have the eight counties, including Tippecanoe, around Tippecanoe that we investigate for.
Now, just as a point of clarification, we're talking here specifically about abuse and neglect, but not scams, is that right?
Well, we get into the scam part of it too. Anytime somebody's taking advantage of an endangered adult, we usually get called into it. And we're kind of the first responders, although we're not emergency responders. We go out and determine if the case is valid, and then we'll refer it to a proper agency. And if it's a criminal agency, then we'll usually call in the police, and because the prosecutor typically wants a police report if he's going to file charges on it.
Now, abuse and neglect doesn't necessarily mean from an outside source, does it?
Well, unfortunately, Dick, it's most times it's from a family or a close friend is what we find.
And how do you handle that? I think that would be a tough.
Well, it depends on the situation. A lot of times intervention is enough to get the problem stopped. If depending upon the severity of it, it may turn into a criminal matter. A lot of times we can refer it to Area 4 or one of the other social agencies for services, in-home care providers, or depending on the medical situation and the psychological situation.
Do you often get calls from the victim?
Very rarely, very rarely. Usually outside sources, peripherals we call them.
So that would be like somebody, a neighbor who thinks that there's something going
exactly.
With
exactly. If they see that maybe somebody's with Alzheimer's, and unfortunately we're seeing a lot of Alzheimer's, people are eloping out of their house, they get lost, they're found walking sometimes miles away from their home, and we'll get calls on that after or before the police involvement.
So the emphasis then is on protective services as opposed to help with maintaining a household or something like that.
Correct. We don't do case management. That's deferred to a medical agency or a psychological agency, mental health, or we're basically kind of, the state's changed APS in the last few years where they want us to get in, investigate the situation, and get out, and principally because of caseload.
Okay, typically, what rate of success do you have in taking care of the situation?
Well, that's a hard number because success is a quantitative.
It's kind of an unfair question.
It is. I don't have statistics because I'd say I don't want to give a number on that, Dick. It's hard to say, but a lot of times intervention is sufficient. Sometimes criminal. Sometimes we can get family members that are far away that haven't been around for a while. Sometimes we can get other relatives, siblings involved. So success is on a scale, so to speak, of
On an individual
right.
basis.
It's hard to quantify it.
Well, now, I would think that there would be the possibility now of after APS has contacted these individuals and kind of leveled the situation out. Do you ever get repeat calls for the same
Yes,
person?
we do, unfortunately. Our repeat calls typically come from what we call self-abusers, and there's a lot of people that live in substandard situations and don't take very good care of themselves, either
Or incapable or,
unwilling a lot of times.
oh, okay.
And if the laws are pretty firm on that, and the judges in our area say that, you know, if you have your right mind and you're living as you see fit and you're not harming anyone else, then we pretty much let you live as you want to. You know, we have our freedoms in America that we protect very, very diligently.
You've been talking with Lynn Kanable, who is an inspector for Adult Protective Services in Tippecanoe County as well as 8 surrounding counties. We're going to run now a video for your information, and I think it will give us a chance to identify or at least bring to the attention of the fact that this does exist, and maybe it exists with someone you know. So stay tuned.